The alien class went silent when he barked. "Human, bleed!" She only smiled and stepped closer. Not in defiance, not in arrogance, but with the unsettling calm of someone who'd been ordered far worse things by forces far less merciful than the uniformed creature standing before her. The training chamber was a hollow sphere suspended above the rest of the academy like a floating lung, transparent walls humming with pressure fields, light rippling like trapped water. Alien cadets from 11 different species stood in layered terraces, their bioluminescent eyes, reflective shells, or slit pupils all focused on the lone Terran entering the central ring. Her name was Sera Ward. 16 years old. Exchange cadet. Deathworld-born. Commander Threxus towered over her, his segmented armor clicking with each shift of his 4 legs. His 2 upper arms held the ceremonial blade, an obsidian spine harvested from the Academy's Leviathan fossil wall. Its edge didn't shimmer like energy weapons. It drank the light instead. "You were told to present your hand," Threxus said, mandibles spreading with irritation. "Do not make me repeat myself." Sera stopped exactly 1 step inside the glowing boundary circle. Her boots pressed onto a surface woven from millions of microthreads, soft at first, then hardening beneath her weight. The Academy called it adaptive flooring. Humans would have called it disconcerting. But nothing about this place made her flinch. Not the whispering cadets. Not the humming walls. Not the blade leveled at her pulse. She lifted her gaze, meeting Threxus's 6 shimmering eyes. Their colors shifted with emotion. Right now, they were the pale yellow of restrained annoyance. "You want me to bleed," Sera said. Her voice was quiet, even. "Is there a specific amount, Commander? Or should I improvise?" A ripple of shock moved through the terraces. A Valori cadet covered his crystalline mouth. A Vraxian clicked his carapace plates together in disbelief. Even the floating Mintari, drifting like airborne jellyfish, dimmed their inner glow. Threxus's pupils constricted. "Humans improvise because they lack discipline. Here you follow orders. Pain is the foundation of obedience. If you cannot endure its lesson..." Sera stepped forward again. 1 smooth step. Unhurried. Controlled. "On my world," she said, "we learned that pain is a conversation, not a command." Her words were soft, but the chamber magnified everything, every breath, every shift of armor, every pulse. The audience swallowed her sentence like it carried gravity of its own. Threxus's jaw flexed. His lower hands tightened around the blade. "Extend your hand, cadet. This test is mandatory for all first-year recruits. Your species is not exempt." Sera inhaled slowly. Her breath fogged faintly. The chamber ran cold by design. Alien physiology handled heat poorly. She adjusted the fit of her uniform sleeve, rolling it halfway to her wrist. The fabric tightened to match her movement. She extended her right hand. No tremor. No hesitation. Just stillness. The kind of stillness that made Threxus pause. The commander leaned in, assessing her skin texture as if expecting scales or armored ridges. Instead, he saw only human softness, warm, vulnerable, shaped by pressures no alien metric could measure. He pressed the blade gently across her palm. A thin line opened. Red blossomed instantly. Several cadets recoiled. One muttered, "Their blood is so bright. Why is it so bright?" Another whispered, "Shouldn't she scream?" A third hissed, "Deathworld species don't feel it the same way." Sera didn't speak. She watched the blood drip once onto the adaptive flooring. The threads shifted, absorbing the drop, glowing faintly red beneath her boots before fading. Her hand tingled, the sting familiar, sharp, grounding. Threxus held the blade still, waiting for her reaction. Sera waited too. Silence pressed between them. Seconds stretched. Finally Threxus said, "You do not react. Does pain not register in your nervous system?" "It registers," Sera replied. "I simply don't negotiate with it." Another wave of murmurs erupted. The Mintari pulsed bright orange, fear. The Vraxian muttered something harsh in his native tongue. The Valori scribbled frantic notes into a data slab. Threxus's eyes shifted from pale yellow to deep red. Not anger. Something else. Something closer to unease. He withdrew the blade. The wound continued to bleed freely. Sera didn't flinch. Didn't wince. Didn't even glance down. She only curled her hand gently, letting another bead fall to the floor. You misunderstand the purpose of this test, Threxus said, stepping around her slowly. It is not about tolerance. It is about obedience to the Dominion. You will respond when commanded. You will react when instructed. You will. You ordered me to bleed, Sera said softly. I followed the order. Threxus froze. The cadets stared. A single moment stretched so thin it felt like it might tear. Sera continued. But you didn't specify the reaction you wanted. Humans aren't telepaths. If you wanted screaming, you should have said so. A gasp rippled through the chamber. Even Threxus blinked, once, twice, expressions humans weren't supposed to provoke. He lifted his hand toward the control node embedded in his gauntlet. Very well, he said, tone dropping. The second trial begins now. The chamber floor shuddered. Pressure gathered. Not gravity. Not heat. Something else. The air changed. Dense. Thick. Metallic. Every surface vibrated like it was preparing to collapse inward. Sera felt it first in her lungs, a compression, a squeezing from the outside in, followed by a ringing behind her eyes. The adaptive flooring hardened under her feet, gripping her boots to keep her grounded. Aliens staggered in the terraces. A Mintari dropped several feet before stabilizing. A Valori's crystal spine flashed with overload warnings. But Sera stood still, barely swaying. Threxus watched her closely. This field simulates atmospheric pressure on the ocean moons of Varuin. Your bones should already be straining. Sera exhaled slowly. Feels like being back home. Your world has this kind of pressure? Deeper, she said, eyes steady. And wetter. A strangled sound escaped a cadet, half laugh, half horror. Threxus's mandibles twitched. Increase it. The pressure field doubled. Sera's vision tightened at the edges. Her ribs ached. Her ears popped. A deep vibration rolled through her bones like a buried drum. Still, no collapse. She shifted her weight slightly, grounding herself. Threxus circled her again. Your physiology is inefficient. Your species evolved on a chaotic world but lacks the structural reinforcements of Dominion-born species. You should be unconscious. I've heard that before, Sera said. Back home, we call it Wednesday. Another murmur. The floating Mintari dimmed, rippling with disbelief. Threxus turned to the cadets. Observe. The human body is fragile. Breakable. What you see is not strength. It is delusion. He raised the pressure again. The chamber groaned. Sera's knees bent. For a heartbeat. Just one. Then she straightened again. Calm. Focused. Breathing steady. From the terraces, someone whispered. Why isn't she breaking? Someone else murmured. She smiled when he cut her. Why is she smiling now? Because she was. Sera's lips curved faintly, not mockery, not defiance. Something quieter. Stranger. A smile shaped not by ease, but familiarity. Threxus stopped walking. His red eyes narrowed. What are you smiling at? Sera met his gaze. You think this is pain, she said. But where I'm from, this is just pressure. Sera didn't wait for his response. She simply shifted her stance, lowering her center of gravity the way her father once taught her on the cliff shores of Pyron Ridge, where windstorms could peel skin from bone. She remembered the way he placed a steadying hand between her shoulder blades, whispering, "Lean into what hurts. It can't knock down someone who moves with it." She leaned forward, letting the pressure slide over her like a cresting wave. Threxus's mandibles parted in confusion. This wasn't resistance. This was adaptation. Instinctual. Alive. Enough, he said, but the words sounded more like a plea than a command. He increased the field again. The air thickened until sound itself struggled to exist. Cadets grabbed railings. A Valerie fell to one knee. A Mintari's glow dimmed to near invisibility. The room trembled under the strain. Sera felt her bones hum. Her muscles quivered in tight, controlled tremors. Her vision blurred at the corners. But her breath, slow, steady, deliberate, carved a rhythm through the crushing weight. "Your ribs should be fracturing," Threxus rasped. His eyes flickered from red to gray, the color of doubt. "Your organs should be compressing." "What mechanism?" Sera lifted her chin. "You're assuming humans stay the shape they start in." "What does that mean?" he demanded. She took a single step toward him. The chamber groaned as she moved. One step. Then another. Then a third. The pressure wrapped around her like living hands trying to drag her back, but she kept walking until she stood inches from him. "It means we're very good at becoming whatever the world forces us to be," she said. Threxus's breath stuttered. A commander. A veteran of 3 off-world wars. A creature bred for survival through countless selection generations. And yet, in that moment, he stepped back. A whisper rippled through the chamber. Did he just retreat? He moved away from her. She's 16. Why is the commander afraid? Threxus snarled, regaining posture. Silence! The terraces fell still. He turned back to Sera. You rely on poetic deflection. But the body does not lie. Your limits will reveal themselves. He slammed his palm onto the control node. The pressure vanished. Instantly. Sera staggered forward as the sudden freedom sent her balance spinning. Her vision went white for half a heartbeat. The floor rose up. Her pulse spiked. She caught herself on one knee, breath ripping through her teeth, the world tilting and then stabilizing again. For the first time, the cadets saw strain. Not weakness, but reality. A human pushed toward the edge, finally showing the cost. And that made what she did next more terrifying. Sera laughed softly. A breath. A release. Almost relieved. She pushed herself back to her feet, wiping a smear of blood, still dripping from her palm, against her uniform. Threxus watched her with a new, unfamiliar expression. Hesitation. His mandibles clicked as though recalibrating. You almost collapsed. And you almost understood me, Sera replied. The room fell into a silence so deep it felt like a vacuum. Threxus bristled. You presume too much. You study pain, she said. As if it's a weapon. As if it's something you teach. Humans don't learn pain. We inherit it. Threxus grabbed her injured wrist suddenly, lifting her hand between them. You bleed too easily to claim superiority. Sera didn't pull away. Bleeding is not failure. It's information. He stared at her, confused. She continued, voice low. It tells me where to adapt next. Before he could respond, the chamber lights flared crimson. A sharp alarm cut across the dome, 3 shrill pulses signaling instructor override. A door slid open on the far side of the sphere. Dean Ulver stepped through, tall, scaled, her armor carved with the silver insignia of Academy authority. Her eyes, bright cobalt slits, swept over the scene. Commander Threxus, she said, her voice carrying without amplification. You initiated pressure levels beyond protocol for an unclassified cadet. Threxus stiffened. The human required. You endangered 50 cadets. Ulver snapped. Half the room is showing overload symptoms. Sera glanced toward the terraces. Several cadets were still clutching railings, struggling to regain equilibrium. The dean turned to Sera. Cadet Ward, are you able to stand? Sera nodded. Yes, ma'am. Her voice was steady. Her breathing mostly controlled. But Ulver's sharp gaze took in every detail, the flushed skin, the trembling fingers, the still bleeding palm, the faint wobble in her left knee. She assessed all of it. Catalogued it. Then turned back to Threxus. Explain, she ordered. Threxus clenched his mandibles. Humans are resilient but crude. I sought a baseline reading. You pushed her to Varroan level compression. Ulver hissed. No cadet in this chamber could withstand that, not even you at her age. The terraces fell deadly silent. Threxus's eyes flickered, yellow, then red, then uncertain gray. I was testing a hypothesis, he said. And what did you conclude? Alvar asked. Threxus turned his gaze towards Sera. For the first time, the room understood. He didn't have an answer. Sera supplied one instead. You concluded that humans don't break the way you expect. Her tone wasn't arrogant. It was observational. Scientific. True. Alvar's eyes narrowed, intrigued despite herself. Cadet Ward, why did you continue the test? Because I was ordered to, Sera said. And because stopping would have told him he was right about us. Alvar inhaled, slow, deliberate. Then she faced the cadets. Class, you have witnessed the first confirmed pressure tolerance anomaly in a Terran cadet. The Dominion Council will require immediate review. A ripple of tension shot through the room. Review. That word meant only two things, classification or containment. Sera kept her expression still. Alvar approached her. Lowered her voice. Did that level of compression hurt you? Sera didn't lie. Yes. Did you fear collapse? Yes. Then why smile? Sera looked past her, toward the sphere's transparent wall where the Academy campus shimmered beyond, its towers spiraling like metallic vines into the pale blue sky of this world. Because pain means I'm still part of the fight, she said. And fear means I'm still learning. Alvar studied her. Then nodded slowly, a gesture not of approval, but acknowledgement. Very well, Badine said. The Dominion Council will see this footage within the hour. For now, Cadet Ward, you are excused. Sera turned to leave. But Threxus's voice cut through the silence. Human. She stopped. Threxus stepped forward, slow, mechanical, like a machine reconsidering its purpose. You smiled when ordered to bleed, he said softly. You stood under pressure beyond your limits. You claim inheritance of pain. His eyes, all six of them, fixed on her. Tell me, what kind of world makes someone like you? Sera met his stare without blinking. A world that never apologizes, she said. The terraces trembled, not from pressure this time, but from the weight of those words. Threxus took them in slowly. A species defined not by armor, not by claws, not by inherited strength, but by survival purchased day after brutal day. And the faintest hint of respect, unwanted, uninvited, touched the commander's voice as he said, This conversation is not over. Sera nodded once. I know. Then she walked out of the chamber, leaving a thin trail of red on the adaptive floor, each drop sinking into the threads like seeds. Seeds that would not stay buried. Not this time. Not with a human at the Academy.